All right. Rick, good to see you.
Mike, good to see you, buddy.
Uh, Listen, I wanted to get together today, celebrate your business. I believe it hit $10,000 revenue in 30 days. So first of all, congratulations on the milestone achievement.
Thank you. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And, usually how I run these calls is we'll kind of wind things back to before you even got started on all this. So I'd love to hear from you before you joined and before you got the business live. Like, where were you at? What were you looking at? Why did you even make this decision? I'd love to kind of get some context there and we can dive in from that point on.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty classic story of, I worked at the same company since college. Like I worked there for like 19 years. Went through a lot of change and growth and promotions and mergers, acquisitions. So it always kept me on my toes and like constantly challenged. But just more recent changes in the landscape of things with AI and new CEO and everything else that my job was eliminated recently. So it was something I kind of saw the writing on the wall, but I'd always felt, I'd always felt like I kind of had all my eggs in one basket, right? So it was a long time to be at the same company. And I feel like this was kind of the push I needed to just take the next step in whatever's next for me. I would say, I think going through COVID and moving to like working fully remote, at the same time I had my first child, gave me that taste of flexibility where, I could work a little bit more at night if I have to take more time during the day to do things around the house. And I loved it. Like I was like, this is great. This is where I want to be. And it felt a little more entrepreneurial to some degree. So yeah, that's where this kind of caught my eye, is that like, hey, this is something I could be a little bit more flexible, put time into where I see fit and as much as I want to, I guess. So it always kind of had some appeal to me. So yeah, I've had my eye on it for a bit, and I mean, I've researched a few other things to do as sort of that next step. But now that I've had time, as I'm sort of in the middle of my package here, and trying to enjoy the time with the little guy, but I'm also just trying to figure out like what's next for me.
Cool. And that I think a lot of people can resonate with the career and where the landscape is right now. Obviously, I would say there's two parts of your journey from my perspective. Maybe we can dive into two. One, you had a very unorthodox start to everything, is what I'll call it. You had a lot of one-off experiences, so I'd love to kind of walk through that with you. And then obviously, like, clicked pretty quickly as soon as you basically turned things on. So then let's chat about that next. Okay. So from that side, I guess for anyone that's watching, I think, Rick, 2 times you started your name, and I think someone had incorporated a similar name. I mean, maybe you can tell the story better than I am, but they basically incorporated within a week or two of these kind of names and companies being filed, which basically forced your hand to repivot.
Yeah. So that was fun. Yeah, nice little challenge to start. But basically I just picked out a name, and I mean, I'm a sales and marketing guy, and I knew not to spend too much time on it up front, but it was really hard not to. Like I think I spent honestly like 15 hours one weekend, just like workshopping, talking to my wife, talking to family, like, do you like this name? Do you like that name? Spending too much time talking to ChatGPT. And yeah, long story short, I found a name I landed on, loved it. Got the LLC, and then found a competitor had super similar. Like mine had the name home in it and theirs didn't. And I randomly just saw them show up like when I was Googling my name, and I was like, wait, what is this? Oh no, they already have it. And they're pretty close to me, like 25 miles away. So really similar market. And they had just started and gotten their LLC like 2 or 3 weeks before I did. And just because the name was just that much different, I was like, all right, what do I do here? So, it was kind of one of those things where it was like, I could just roll with it and hope that it isn't too much of an issue. And, I think your suggestion was like, hey, probably better to just handle it now rather than have this be an issue down the road. And let alone, we're using these cleaners as independent contractors. You don't want them to be confused. You definitely want clients to be confused. So anyway, so I ended up rebranding, picked my new name, didn't spend as much time that next time. Got the LLC, was feeling good, got the ball rolling. And I saw a social post with the same name. And I was like, I didn't create this. Is this like a meta thing where they're doing it for you to sample it and get you to advertise? And turns out somebody, same exact name, 10 miles away, created this business, did not have the LLC. So I was like, there's no way I'm doing this again. So I just went to her with a little bit of a nudge that, hey, I already have this name, I'm already using it, I have the LLC, just to see how she'd react to it. And she initially pushed back, and then pretty quickly was just like, I'm not going to fight this. And she ended up changing her name. But to deal with that twice, I was like, hey,
Yeah.
is this normal? Is this something you see a lot? And like, no, not at all. So yeah, the first time I wasn't even that bummed. I'm like, maybe it's meant to be. We'll spend a little more time going through everything. But the second time I was like, oh no, not again.
Yeah.
So
well, that was Murphy's Law in full effect there. I will say we usually do check that prior. So for anyone watching, he just got some one-off Venn diagram experience, but I'm glad that you stuck through and pushed through with it on the launch side of things. When it comes to the launch side of things, maybe you can also kind of unorthodox even on how you got most of your clients. So I'd love to kind of break that down for you. Two things I would want to know from you, Rick. Like number one, maybe what was the most challenging part? I know it happened very quickly. Let's just remove the setup snafu. What was the most challenging part? And then what was the part where you're like, oh, this is going to work, and maybe clicked for you?
The most challenging part in getting the business set up?
Or getting live. Like
or just getting live.
Hey, I'm starting the business to, hey, 10K in 30 days.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, obviously so many of the materials are helpful. Anytime you feel like there's a speed bump where it's like, I might have just stopped or slowed down, I think it was super helpful to just keep pushing. For me, I struggle with the cleaners, and I was actually looking forward to that part because I'm like historically a people manager. I do a lot of interviewing. So I was kind of excited that I'm like, oh, I get to do this, but kind of like, I don't have a recruiter who's filtering through these. And I was just like, I don't know. I thought that process would be fun. And it was cool. Met obviously a lot of people. I don't know if it's my market being just a little unique, just a unique location where we don't have a big city around, but I kind of struggled with just the time to onboard the cleaners, to get to like just where I needed to be to have enough capacity. It was always felt like it was kind of something that would fall through, or would fall through at the 11th hour. And I think more than anything, it was just, I was probably trying to be too perfect with it. Like thinking of it more like a corporate job where, it's, when they're independent contractors, it's a little less to worry about down the road, where you can just cut ties easier than them being W-2 employees. So I think I probably just spent too much time, and maybe I think if I had gone back, that's probably the one thing I would have done over, is taken the advice from school to be like, call them right away when they apply, get them on the phone, try to get that interview scheduled. Where I think I was doing a little more of like, hey, does Tuesday at 3 work to have an interview? And I would totally just lose them, because I could see it would be a lot of weekday nights. I would get a lot of applicants, and I'm like, oh, people must just be looking for jobs after work, and they're looking for the next thing. And I think I probably just treated it too much of a traditional corporate job, as opposed to just fast tracking it and just trying to get the best applicant at the time to just get the ball rolling, which was the advice you guys gave. But I think I still was like, oh, I have a little time, let me be. And I think I was just a little too precious with it. Ended up taking a little more time than it should have.
Cool. That's I think a lot of people can resonate with that as well. So I think that's valuable insights there. Now on the flip side of things, okay, cool. We got the cleaners. Now things are pumping on the marketing and sales side. Walk us through maybe that portion of it as well.
Yeah. So going live, again, being like a sales and marketing guy and watching through those modules into school, I was excited for this to figure out like, hey, where do I want to spend my time to start? I think the timing's never always perfect, where I was like, okay, this summer I probably have less time than I actually spent in the spring on the business. But that's just, how it goes. But I was excited just to see what channels am I going to focus on. I have experience with Google Ads, and it doesn't sound like that's something you guys would necessarily recommend to everyone, but I had more of a strategic experience where I wouldn't be doing the tactical stuff. So that's why I was a little worried of like, can I actually do this myself? But I was like, let me mess around with a little bit. Obviously a little help from like ChatGPT walking me through some things where I had some roadblocks, but I saw a lot of success early on with Google Ads. It's crazy. I was getting, like 3 or 4 leads a day, where I think I expected more volume and less closing, but I was closing like 50% off the bat, I was shocked. I was like, wait, this is pretty easy. I don't even it's not like I'm not having to sell them, but it's like, man, I'm just walking them through the pricing. And I found that I had a lot of move cleaning. So I don't know if it's a seasonal thing or the real estate market is, picking back up, but a lot of these people they have a date of their closing. They know they need it by that deadline. So I was closing at a super high rate all summer on Google Ads, because I think these people are just looking for a price and a date that works for them, right? And I think Google is a natural place for that, where you're probably type in your location, putting like move cleaning, move out, move in cleaning. So I'm still seeing a lot of those come in like through the summer, which are awesome because those convert super high. And they're usually like a higher dollar amount. So that I think was a huge factor in me hitting that 10K off the bat. And to be honest, I mean, I have that, and I have the local service ads going, and I've seen way more success from the Google ads. Like I'm still spending a good amount, but it's because I've seen success on it so far. So it'll be interesting to see just once the summer, maybe some of the moving calms down, where that goes. But obviously I'm kind of shifting my focus a little bit more to recurring, just so I do have that, you know, more scalable business down the road and less one-offs. But yeah, it's been, I don't want to say easier than I would have thought to get some of these moving closings, but I think it's just the nature of the intent from those people.
Yeah, I think that's super valid. I mean, like, listen, we usually don't say, hey, go dive into Google Ads. There's so many intricacies with executing that strategy properly, but kudos to you. I mean, you figured that out. And honestly, like, you're probably great on the phones if you're closing 50% of your leads, is what I'll say. So it's no surprise there. You're coming from a marketing and sales background.
Yeah.
So quickly.
I mean, you know what I'll also say has been interesting is I think I thought I'd be on the phones more. And I do think there is probably a play for me to spend some more time on the phone, but I've seen a ton of success with text messages. Like I live in Quo and I'm there all day, and I'll like schedule stuff, my follow-ups for the next day via text. But I think these days people just are so used to texting. So I'm trying to get these like concise messages that have call to action, but like I can get right back to them right away. A lot of times I'll see like people call me at lunch at work and they probably don't want a call back. So I do ask like in my contact form, and like, I mean, 90% say they want a text response. So I've just been crushing text, which is way more efficient for me too, as opposed to being on the phone for maybe, you know, what would be a longer period of time. So I think that's a cool thing too that I was a little surprised at. Yeah,
for sure. And I'll just say, I think that's music to any remote worker or any office worker's ears that I can generate sales off text. I think that's just like more of the direction we're heading.
Yeah. I mean, it's just easy to say. You could send a link. I could shoot them to pages on my site, and it's just way more efficient. There are the people that want to talk through stuff, but I mean,
for sure,
seriously, probably over 90% want text. It's crazy.
I love it.
Yeah, okay, it's awesome.
Sweet. So shifting gears a little bit, I'm curious for you, program wise, was there something that was most valuable for you?
It's a good question. I mean, I think what I think back to all the time that I didn't realize at the time was as important as it is, and I don't know if this is the most important thing, but it's the first thing that came to mind, is that market research. Because obviously researching multiple markets, you're just seeing, what cleaners are making, but just looking at some of the pricing, like obviously all the pricing parameters, like that's another thing I live in, and I'm constantly kind of tweaking and iterating on with my offers and promotions. But I mean, that market research, just going back to that, was so helpful just to drive the pricing parameters and kind of like just me feeling comfortable, like, can I charge this? And in some instances being like, I'm not charging enough for that. But I just think just having the confidence of like a leg to stand on with what I'm charging and what I'm offering, and not feeling like, I'm throwing pricing out there and quotes out there that are either like way too low or way too high. And it's just, so I think that to me is something I think back to that I didn't realize at the time that I was going to use that as much as I did. But pricing parameters driven off the market research have been awesome.
Yeah, I would say just from my side, I know a lot of people want to rush through that process. And it's like, I know like maybe there's some other places where it's like, oh, we don't really do market research. You just go. And I actually kind of take a different philosophy where I'm like, exactly what you just said, or it's like, I actually want you to know deeply, like, where are we actually at with our pricing? Because I'm going to be on the front lines on these phones, and like, I have to believe what I'm about to sell.
Yeah.
And if you don't know where the market's actually at, as soon as someone says, hey, I don't know about that price, you're just going to price cut yourself into essentially not even a sale and degrade your service. So I think go ahead.
And I was going to say, I think like the other things that were helpful off that too is just hearing how other companies talk about their business and their pitch and how they talk through things. And some are way better than others. I was surprised at how many people didn't answer the phones and wouldn't text. And then you have some that use Booking Koala and make it like pretty easy. And it's just pretty interesting to see how others run their business and things you can learn and either leverage or making sure that you don't do. But I thought it was just super helpful and interesting. And
For sure. Well, cool. Listen, I know we got like 4 more months in the year, but I'm curious now, hey, we hit this milestone. Where's Rick looking ahead in the business? How are you viewing it rest of the year, beginning of 2027? Could you walk us through what you're envisioning for yourself?
Yeah, it's a good question. Something I've thought about a lot. Like from a personal perspective, I'm trying to get through the summer, and like I'm gonna feel bad saying this, but I can't wait till my son's like back in school and I can just go back to like a normal schedule and like a routine a bit. I don't know, man. I'm having a lot of fun with this, probably more so than I thought. And I think it takes me back to like being on the front lines of the tactics and just knowing that when I spend time on this, it's for me and growing this business and not a company that may or may not care. It may or may not matter. I think so. Anyway, for me, I think I haven't spent too much time thinking about the numbers yet, which I know is probably not the right approach. But I've been like, I just want to win the day. Like I want to get a couple cleanings a day. I want to just see that Mercury bank account keep growing, making sure the cleaners are in a good place. But I mean, obviously I hit 10. Like I would love to hit 20 in a month. Which I think is definitely doable. I mean, like I said, I'm focusing a lot more on recurring just because I see like, the move-ins are going well. I do think there's a little seasonality to that. So I'm just really just trying to focus on pushing more recurrings and, like I said, trying to really win the day before I kind of model out where I see the rest of the year. But I definitely want to keep improving on that 10 to hopefully hit 20, to hopefully hit 25 and 30 by the end of the year in a given month.
I'd say that's a great mentality because I think if you just take it one day at a time, I remember even when I was first starting, like that's kind of how I took it as well. It's just like, how do I be productive today with either the time that I have or like whatever I know I can control?
Yeah.
And that ultimately will lead to success. So
yeah,
I think obviously you're a testament to that in such a short time.
Yeah.
That you're focused on, because a lot of people, even I know I kind of baited you with the question, but like thinking long-term is not always the solution to how to actually execute in the short term.
Yeah. So. Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. And I think, like I said, just try to, probably it is because I have less or at least varied time of how much I'm spending on this, whatever. Yeah. I'm just trying to win the day and do everything I can to get back to these leads as quick as possible because it definitely makes a huge difference. So just trying to win the day, get a couple cleanings a day and really focus on recurring moving forward.
Okay. Awesome. Well, Rick, last question here. If somebody was on the fence about doing something like this, what would you tell them?
I tell them to go for it. I mean, I think, like I said, I was looking at this for months. Like, I've been following you on social, and I've seen the posts, and it always piqued my interest. And I think it is such a unique industry. And but like honestly, I wouldn't have gotten through it. I wouldn't have gotten through the rebrand without school, without leaning on you and the support from the early going. Like I think when you're starting something new like this, it's a little scary. And I think you have days where you're really motivated and feeling really good about it. And then you have days where it's just like, man, what am I doing right now? And do I have the confidence to get over this hurdle? Like I remember sitting there were a few different, whether it was with the cleaners or with the having a rebrand, but there's just these speed bumps that I think I either would have just slowed down and maybe overthought it and maybe just lost momentum altogether. And I think being a part of the program just gave me the confidence to like, oh, this has happened before. I think every single thing that's happened to me you guys have like been through, like I've seen this before, like here's how we would approach it, or here's how you could think about it, or there's a school module already to walk you through this. So I think just having that there kept me going and gave me the confidence to just keep this thing moving, keep the ball moving down the field. Right. I know I would not be where I am right now if not for it.
Okay. I think that's a great way to end. And listen, you're actually the only person who had the name Snafu twice. So
is that right? Yeah. Okay.
You actually do get a first prize for that. So
awesome. All right, cool. There's got to be somebody's got to do it, I guess, right?
Someone's got to do it. Well, Rick, congrats on the business success. Obviously, all the best. We'll obviously be touching base hopefully later this year for you to hit these other marks, but pleasure working with you.
Yeah, man. You too. Thank you again.
See you later.
All right. Later.